Hello and welcome to Movie Buffs, a show that covers the best action films of all time. I'm your host, Shani B. You can find me on all the socials at It's Me, Shani B.
And I'm Cisco from Misfit Minded. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at misfit_minded, and my website at misfitminded.com.
Today, we're talking about another movie that is celebrating its 20-year anniversary, Quentin Tarantino's fourth film, 2003's Kill Bill Volume 1. I'm so excited. If you haven't seen it, it's about an assassin who, after an attempt is made on her life, tracks down those who did her wrong one by one for revenge. It is a pretty simple, straightforward story told in some amazing ways, and I'm so excited to hear what you think of it, Cisco. So tell me what you think of this movie. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad has to be one of the best names for a villain crew that we've done so far. um,
For real.
yeah, I mean, I love this movie. Like Quentin Tarantino is like my favorite director, so obviously I'm biased. Um, but I think it's a great like revenge movie if you want to enjoy it on that level. It's epic on that level. I love the score from RZA. Obviously I'm a rap fan, so that was a big deal to me when I first saw this. If you're a horror fan, it's got all the blood and guts that you could ever want in a movie. And then just as a movie fan, like I guess a kung fu and action movie fan too, you got all the great choreography, beautiful cinematography, and it just has that like old school feel to it, because Tarantino is such a nerd and he just takes from all these different influences. So yeah, I love it. I never get tired of watching it. Yeah, what about you?
I mean, same, same. I am a huge fanny bee of this one. I revisiting it, seeing the title, the fourth film, I was like, God, that's right. There was a time when Quentin Tarantino was like still a new director
Yeah.
that people were like, is this guy like we think he's got stuff? And then just rewatching this, like, God, I love this movie so much. And I'm with you. There's just so much to love in this movie. The filmmaking is amazing, the choreography and the performances, like the acting in between the fighting is crazy good. And just like you're saying, the even the blood spatter is perfect. Just executed so smartly, so well, so creatively. The use of all the different filmmaking techniques. Like, I love that Quentin Tarantino is both a nerd for culture, but also film because he can use things like different color, the black and white and blue and green. Don't get me started on a color palette. I love it. Amazing, like, inserts. I'm obsessed with inserts. That always makes me enjoy a movie more. And this one perfectly places them even around the fighting, which is so good. I love all the imagery and just all of the editing and how everything comes together. It has everything I want, and you named it. That amazing score and the music throughout is just it's too unique. I love this movie. I can say a million nice things about it. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah, let's get into specifically, I guess, what we loved. For getting into the filmmaking aspects, we already mentioned it's written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, his fourth movie after Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. But yeah, crazy. I feel like after Jackie Brown too, that's I think probably people were like, all right, he has Pulp Fiction, it's undeniable, but like Jackie Brown, people were like kind of disappointed like at the time, like so like because it wasn't what they were expecting. They were expecting another Pulp Fiction, and that's a much like slower paced, and like different vibe crime movie. And then he comes back with Kill Bill, which is like the most insane kung fu love letter, that you could ever put out there. So yeah, I guess just I know we could talk about this all day, but what sequences in particular like stood out to you?
Oh man, I mean, I think something that always stands out is how this movie opens. Like, I always forget that it opens so strong with a
Hmm.
huge fight scene, which is amazing in many ways. But then for it to have the like juxtaposition of the weird kind of dreamlike psychedelic thing when Daryl Hannah comes through is an amazing scale
Yeah.
to be like, we're going to go this hard, but we're also actively looking for this kind of vulnerability, the kind where like she's asleep and you could sneak up on her. And I think that sequence is just like both really well executed and shot, but also like a great example of the interesting, nuanced way that Tarantino tells stories. Just putting these things together or layering in this way. And it's like so forward thinking because there's a whole other film coming and I know that. And so rewatching makes this sequence even more exciting when I have an idea of like where I bet you thought that was real funny, didn't you? Like comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love it. The split screen is so cool there. The 70s vibe is really cool. God, so good. Um, and of course, like I think each sequence is shot so well, but the prestige and the extent of that final crazy 88 sequence, like you can't I don't think there's I'm troubled to see a better sequence in a movie that isn't like a war movie where of course it's going to be a sweeping amazing sequence, you know?
Yeah, or like, the two I would say like of the past 10 years of like John Wick and the Raid movies where it's like that much carnage in in one place.
Nonstop.
Yeah. But yeah, to the Crazy 88's another great villain name because there's 88
Oh,
members.
epic.
Great names in this all around, I would say. Um
Again,
yeah.
a quirk,
Yeah.
right? Like this dude, he thinks about it and it all sounds good.
I also like the little touches. So like you mentioned in the beginning, like it has the old Shaw Brothers logo, like old kung fu movies did, and it has that like our feature presentation, like basically like getting you ready for like what you're about to watch.
Yep.
Every time I watch this, somehow I always forget that they never show Bill ever in the movie. Like it's
Yep.
only just his hands and like him talking like out of frame. So I love
Mhm.
that restraint. Like you said, there's a whole other movie after this where he can fill in those gaps that he had like the vision for, that David Carradine's like silky smooth voice, can just be off to the side and be like, "This is me at my most sadistic." Like you're like, "Oh, who the fuck is this?" Like,
Mhm.
and then similarly, I like how they never mention her name. It's she's only referred to as the bride, because it like almost makes her as like a superhero. You know what I mean? Like it's like the bride. We don't know her
Yes.
name. Although this time I did pay attention to like because they bleep it out. They like
I love that.
they yeah, exactly. Me too. Those little quirks. But you can definitely read the lips that like Vivica Fox is saying Beatrix. And
Mhm.
like all of them are saying Beatrix, and you find out later her name's Beatrix Kiddo. So like
It's kind of
yeah, go ahead.
it's cool because it makes me think of like the multiple identities. And it's almost like in that scene when she is basically she is herself, of course, but she's also there as an assassin because they were in the middle of this duel. So there's almost something about how like we can't hear her name because that's not who she is right now. Like she looks like that.
Yeah,
That's who we thought she was, but that's not who she
she
is.
can't be a
And I think I
person
love that about Yes,
until
I
she
love
gets
that about the
revenge.
bride too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Exactly, because the bride is yet another identity she tried to wear that was like, "This is who I am, this is who I could be," and instead, always reminded by Bill and the other assassins who she is and what she's supposed to do.
Yeah, and to that opening strong point too, like you ever seen the video of I can post it too if you haven't, but like where
Please do.
Quentin Tarantino is reading off the opening pages of the script to Robert Rodriguez of Kill
No! Ah,
Bill.
I have to see that.
I'll post it, but it's just he is so like Tarantino, his energy. He's so excited. He's like, it opens. We're in El Paso, blah blah blah. And he's like breaking it down, and Rob Rodriguez is just like, oh shit, like yeah, like, and he's like, and then he goes all the way to the moment where it's like, Bill, it's your kid. Gunshot, blam! Like he's so excited, and it's like, yeah, there's so much information there that you're like, whoa, like it just
Well, and
immediately.
that same intensity and excitement that he reads his scripts in comes
Right,
on to the
exactly.
screen. Because I think that's what he's able to do with the inserts and camera editing, is he's able to make you see it with the same level that he's going to read it to you in as well or something. And I think his energy is maybe the most translatable of all the directors, because the other directors, they're painters or something sometimes. And like him and Rodriguez are much more like
Tarantino paints in
performance
he paints in
artists or
blood.
something.
His painting is a
Yes.
Pollock. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Oh man, I got to see that for sure. But yeah, God, that opening sequence, it starts so strong and then it throughout just kind of ebbs and flows and then ends equally as strong and as intense as that first scene. And I mean, there's nothing better than, if you grow up and you still feel
Yeah, I was just
sour
gonna
about
say, we
this.
can we talk about that sequence? Because again, starting off strong. So you get that opening bride sequence, and then it like cuts to like however many years later, and you see her like kill list that she has. And another detail I like is that you can see at the top Orenishi is crossed out. So already from the beginning, it's telling you that it's like it's a non-linear, Pulp Fiction-y. He's jumping around.
Mhm.
So this is after the events of this movie, after she's out of the hospital, of course. So yeah, just I love, like, to your point, like how that scene is shot. It's like so quaint and like like soccer mom village basically.
Beautiful color,
Yeah. And then like when immediately, yeah, like you said, as soon as she opens the door, you get that like zoom into the face, that music, the alarm music, and like the red, and just like breaking all the shit in the house. Like it's a really like down and dirty like fight between it's
ugh,
not like some kung what was I gonna say, like crouching tiger, like swift movement. It's like, no, like I want to kill you in the most efficient
yes.
way possible. I'm using whatever is here. And then when the daughter
Mhm.
comes, you're like, kind of, because you don't know the
Yeah,
protagonist
what this
yet.
is,
You don't know like what her morals are yet. And then I like how she, they stop, take a breather, go to the kitchen, and then get some coffee, and then she, don't you wave your daughter in front of me, bitch. Like like
right?
immediately lets
Yeah.
her know, like, you have, for the moment, we're stopping, but like I'm still going to kill you. Like that's going to happen.
That's right, and if
Yeah.
I were actually gonna do justice here, I'd go kill your daughter too, but I'm not gonna do that, right?
She does the too, like the Pulp Fiction like square. That would be square. I was like, "Oh shit."
Yes.
And then
Yep,
like the rhyming too, like there's like she says like even Steven, or what's the guy, my name's Buck and I'm here to fuck. There's all like Tarantino
classic.
loves a good rhyme. He loves a good rhyme.
Yeah, I mean, like, he thinks about the language, and that's something I love too, is more and more modern movies are, like, less about the language because the language seems to be pretty played out and, like, non-people oriented, and there's something so amazing about how even in this scene, it feels real, like, it has been next level, these women have beaten each other all through the house, and then Vivica is like, "You know what? That dog of yours got in here and just made a huge mess. And, we're going to have to do something about that."
And
Like,
the daughter's so
just
cute. She's
dialogue.
like Hopper did all that. Like
It's adorable. Like a real moment, an authentic
yeah.
human moment. And Tarantino, he never misses these beats. And I love that kind of
All right, so
juxtaposition.
question. We can get into like questions and nitpicks, I guess, in this like section here.
Ooh.
But question, so there's rumors of a Kill Bill 3, always swirling. Would you want to see it with Vivica Fox's daughter coming back and getting revenge on Beatrix? Would you want to see that?
What I want is for Quentin Tarantino to do a three-part series about it that where
Oh,
each is 1 hour.
okay.
So he can do Kill Bill 3, but it has to be in the form of a 3-episode series, no more than
Well,
that.
I was gonna mention that too. That this feels short for a Tarantino movie, but then when you think that he wanted these two movies to be one, then it makes sense. That's more like a Tarantino. He doesn't make movies under 2 hours, like, ever. So
Sure doesn't.
it's very weird in that way. I guess the only like nitpicks I had were it's more like so I guess the one is like in the hospital where she finally gets her legs to, her feet to start moving, and then it's like 13 hours later and she can fully walk or whatever. I'm like, then no one found her. Like there's like dead bodies in the
No one found
hospital,
Buck,
and 12 hours go by and no one found the dead bodies and put that together that like, she's in there.
the woman who was in the bed. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, or at the very least, there wasn't even like a siren that went
that's what I'm
by that
saying.
was like, someone came and stole this comatose
It's
woman.
like
Like,
it's almost like I like, yes, the 12 hours later, realistic, or 13 hours later, realistic, it would probably take that long to get the feeling back in your legs. But then it was like, okay, but then she would also be caught. So it was like,
yeah,
I see, it was
yeah.
like a lose lose. And then the only other one I had was just like, I guess speaking to like longer, like I could always use more in Tarantino. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Sunny Chiba scene, I love. Like when she's just like at the bar and he's just like, your Japanese is so good. Like he's
Yeah.
just he's just he's
Yeah.
being like so friendly and nice, and like the way that that scene is lit is like so soft and like heavenly, like it's like this is a warm, comfortable place, and
Uh,
and then she finally like reveals like I'm here for Hattori Hanzo's sword. The
mm-hmm.
glass breaks. I love that moment. As soon as she says the name, but like he says, it'll take me a month to make it or whatever. And then it just like kind of cuts to the next scene, and I was like, oh, I could have used just like a training
Yeah,
montage or
them.
something, like just
Yeah.
like her doing push-ups, like fucking, because he's like I would use the time to train, and I was like, oh, that'd be the perfect
Yeah.
cut to her training. Like,
Her
have we
training.
ever seen Tarantino do a training montage? Like, come on.
I would have loved, even if it was just a quick scene, to put my executive hat on to talk to Quentin in the trailer. I might have
Hey,
asked,
QT.
what if you had her? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just like, hey, QT. One note for you.
Yeah, I have a quick note. Just tell me what you think. But like, it would be really funny if the training was that she was going to learn how to make sushi, and so
how to
he taught her how to
how to
make
use
sushi while he
chopsticks or
prepared
something.
some basic ass shit. Because I think it would be really fun if he put the sound effects over making sushi. Like, there's just something about how even the sound effects in this movie
Oh,
are
the
epic.
sound
Like
design
the
is
so good,
no. That
so
reminded you
so
just
good.
reminded me of the Oranishi has some banger lines in this, but like the part where she's like, "White woman plays with samurai swords."
Dude. And
Fucking
then later
so
when she's
funny.
like, for disrespecting you.
I apologize.
God, Lucy Liu
She's so good
is
in this
a
movie.
goat.
Yeah,
God, she's so good in every movie. We talked about her in
I was
Slevin and
gonna
how
say
amazing she was there.
she's a returning guest on this show. Like
God,
returning
and
favorite.
a returning
Yeah.
queen who should never be dethroned because she's epic here. And I feel like she really gets the assignment of
Oh,
this movie the
absolutely.
same way that Vivica did. They each understand the archetype they're playing and they chew on it and spread out in it so well. And oh man, her one-liners across the board. Like, I appreciate you guys bringing me your concerns,
I was
but
just
in
gonna
a
say,
respectful
I
way.
was just gonna say, when she switches from like cutting the dude's head off to the customer service voice, I'm like, that shit
Epic.
was so. I can't remember what rap. I think it was some rapper or something sampled just that bit, or maybe like a DJ just put
Mhm.
like for the last fucking time, like when she starts yelling.
So good.
And I love that. Like, yeah, it's so cold blooded, and the when she kills him, it's almost like she was angry, but it was still like soft pedaled feet, like very composed,
Mhm.
clean cut, one cut, and then just that's when she does that customer service voice, like, if you can talk to, I would like for you guys to question my logic.
But allow me.
Yeah, and I have to say this in English so you guys fully understand. Like, switches to English. Oh man, so good.
And that there it is again, another example of not only amazing writing and like love for language and how important language is in storytelling, but then also understanding how to embody that language appropriately. Because I think like there's Lucy Liu again, just knowing how to play this Oren versus like maybe a different person's interpretation. And I just like love how there's always something naughty in the back of Lucy Liu's delivery.
Mhm.
So like even when she's saying something like kind of serious or firm or something, in the back you can see that there's a person who's like,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And I love
I
her on
just
screen, and I love
I
her in
love when she
this.
cuts the guy's head off, and it's like the reaction faces of the guys in the boardroom who are like, "Oh!" just like fucking sprayed with blood. And then when she does the speech, Uma does this a lot too. But she like swipes the
Oh
sword
yeah,
so the blood goes off, and it just hits some dude in the face. I'm like,
I
that
love it.
was so disrespectful. That was so disrespectful. But
Oh, but in the
she needed
best
to let
way.
those guys fucking know who was boss. Like, I understood. Like,
It's true. It's true. She is an amazing boss, and I have to also, of course, mention this the anime sequence
oh,
where her origin story is. What a fucking brilliant way
I was just gonna
to
say
enjoy
this.
this other medium. Yeah, bring it in, and then also it's just the animation is amazing and so creatively violent in animation that I'm like, damn, that's amazing. Does other animation this violent exist? Like, is there like a genre for
Anime.
this, or is this his? You know?
Yeah, anime for sure. And I think I was brilliant is right because I did want to point this out too because every time I watch it, it is super violent. Like no denying that. But I always think like there was no other way you could have done this. You know what I mean? Like because like if you try to do that for real, like I feel like people would be out. Like this is too much.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I feel like yeah, that's like why they don't do like if they did that, it'd be just like how Gogo has her scene where she kills like a dude she doesn't like. It'd be too similar.
True, but like even that's like very like downplayed compared to like you have the blood like spraying down on the little girl's face like when she's under the bed like raining down and
Oh,
like all that stuff and like she's crying.
crying,
Yeah, it would just be
whimper.
it would be way too much to get like a young actress to ask her to do that and like film. So like
No,
I just feel like that
I
was
don't think I could sign off.
so brilliant and like similarly I've watched the special features for this like many times, so I kind of know stuff just off the top. But like when he switches from black and white, I think they said that it was because the MPAA was like complaining about the blood and shit, right? And so like
Right.
I feel like the anime sequence probably helped that, like saying it's not real. And then similarly, the Crazy 88s fight, he's like, okay, I'll switch it from black and white to black and white so that it's not like identifiable as blood, even though everyone knows it's blood, and you guys are fucking stupid. Like,
I mean, I love that
I know.
because I feel like randomly it ends up being the stronger choice, you
I think so
know?
too. I like it a lot because there's so much. I mean, we can talk about every single sequence, like every chapter in this is like strong. That's how you know this is like a fucking 5-star movie. It's like we're just
Yes,
talking about every chapter. Like every chapter is a strong sequence. It's like so
that's
the
right.
Crazy 88's one. It's like there's so many song switches and color changes and like location, like she's going up top into rooms down to the floor,
Oh,
the cameras from underneath, from up above to like it's just like so much is happening, but like you can always see what is happening, which is like rare
mm.
in action movies. So I just
Well, he doesn't lose the storyline.
yeah,
So it's like what makes this movie good and like all of the amazing international cinema we've covered with kung fu and fighting like this
yeah.
is they never stop telling the story through the fight. And that's what he does in this final sequence. And his story is insane, but he never stops telling it anyway. And I'm obsessed with it.
I
Like
lo-
I love that there's the variation because then we get to go into the blue and it's like he does three movies in
I
one in
know.
that last sequence and I'm cool with it. Like this is one of the times where I'm like, let's
I
go.
love like the build up too. It's like uh when like there's only like maybe like 4 or 5 goons that come and she just
Yeah.
dispatches them one at a time and then like Lucy Liu puts the sword down and you just hear all the 88s
Mm.
like coming in with the motorcycles and she's like "You didn't think it'd be that easy, did you?" And she's like, "Yeah, I kind of did." And
It's so
Uma
good.
Thurman, we have to talk about her too because obviously Pulp Fiction, she's a standout in that, but like for this one, for her to basically
Dude.
be in like every single scene and like believable that like, we've seen so many examples of like, a white person coming into like, an Asian territory and being kung fu and it's like you either don't believe it or it's just like yeah, like I don't know. It's just but like
Yeah.
she's so believable in like when she switches to Japanese and like the respect she has for like the swords. Like she doesn't even want to touch it. When she's in Sonny Chiba's like room, she's like,
Mhm.
"May I?" Like she's obviously very well trained, and it's just like the choreography, everything is like okay. She's been plotting on like this revenge is you know well earned, but also like I don't know. It's just like it's done in a way
Yeah.
where it doesn't feel like disrespectful or unbelievable. I guess is my point.
No, because it's sort of like the story itself is respectful, and then she is just an amazing actor, so she can also bring that kind of grounded respect in her
Yeah.
performance. And to your point about, the way that that scene in particular is like filmed and lit, Quentin Tarantino made Uma Thurman, an already stunning woman, look like the most perfect human being that's ever existed on camera.
Bill even says it. He says
Softer.
she looks like a blood spattered angel.
Yes, that's correct.
And I
That
would
is
say
correct.
that's pretty
Like,
much a description of
saw
her the entire movie is she's a
oh,
blood spattered
yeah,
angel. Yeah.
so, so good,
Yeah.
right? Soft, everything, but then the range, because I think he is moving her through softness in each of these, chapters, if you pay close attention, because when she first wakes up and, like, knows what's happened to her, and the color is really matching
Uh,
the bleak reality she's woken up in, and then also, just her performance. It's like, I
yeah.
always forget how sad it makes me when she when realizes what's happened.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful again to know there is that second movie and there is respite for this, like, sadness or
I was gonna
whatever,
say
but
that scene always like that's how you know that Uma Thurman I feel like was the right choice is like when she first wakes up and it's like she has to process like 10 different emotions in like one scene and it's like just all hitting her at once and like she just fucking screams and like cries and you're just like damn like this is the start of her revenge journey right here like you're seeing she's like
yeah,
now
from the darkness.
she's basically been rebooted to fucking destroy these people that took her what she thinks is her daughter away from her um
Mhm.
and her husband and just her life basically she didn't want to we find out in the second one she wanted to leave this life behind and obviously they
Can never get
yeah
out.
they wouldn't let her yeah, and then oh my god, we could talk so much. I just love the location of the eight crazy 88s fight too. Like they got the Go-Go's, the band playing. Fucking,
Yes.
it's like I'm like this is like a funky joint. Like this is, and then like I love the. I'm sorry if we're getting too much in the details, but I feel like this movie has been talked
No,
about
come
so
on.
much that like this is the stuff that I look for now when I watch it. It's just like the small stuff, but like
That's a good
I
thing.
know. The manager lady and her husband, Charlie Brown, I fucking
Good
love them so much because it's like the whole time all this is going down, you can just see her in the background, basically like going like no, and then her
Yes.
husband too was just like always with like a tray, like just I don't know where to put this, like, and it's just oh man, and it's like you feel for them too because you're like these feel like real characters. They probably just run this place. This is like their
Yeah, they're
this is
like,
their
"We
family
want."
business, and the yakuza just comes in here and just like fucking shits all over it and is like, bring me 4 pizzas, like
Yeah, like, after the big fight when the manager's wife and she's like, "Ah!" 'Cause there's just everyone's dead all over the place. Oh my gosh, it's so
like
good.
this room
And
was
when,
not
like,
red before, but now it's painted all red. Like there's no
all red, oh, and when, like, Lucy Liu's like, "Get lost, Charlie Brown,"
Oh,
like,
beat it,
so,
Charlie
so
Brown.
good. Yeah, like the comedy, you don't I guess like that's something that's so wonderful about Quentin Tarantino's movies too, is he figures out a way he might be the only person who's really doing black comedy. Because I know that everyone's like, Yorgos, you guys. But like he's doing something else, I think. Quentin is doing black comedy. He's taking a situation that is incredibly treacherous and dangerous and scary and
David
making it
Fincher. You could say
survivable
David
by
Fincher.
using comedy.
He's a black comedy
And
guy.
something else still too. I feel
Gone
like
Girl.
only Quentin uses it like a kid who's overcome trauma. He's
Yeah.
like, there's only one way out of this absurd situation, and it's a joke.
Yeah.
And I love how he uses that, like when she spanks the last Crazy 88 kid that she's got, and she's like, "This is
Yeah.
why you don't be
With
fucking around."
Yakuza. Yeah.
God, it's so good. And like that's exactly it. We've just sliced people's arms off, killed 60 people, but if she takes this thing that she's cut everyone's heads off with and spanks this kid, we'll laugh just enough to forget how incredibly grotesque the past 2 minutes were.
Yeah.
You know what I
To that
mean?
point too, like the fight the in the Crazy 88s, like just in that same location with Gogo, that the
Oh,
shit talk that they do before that is hilarious to me too. Every time when she's like, you know, I know you're trying to protect your mistress, your head mistress, but like I'm begging you, just walk away. And then you're just like, what is this? Again, you don't really know her. You know a little bit about her. You don't know what she's gonna do, and then she starts laughing. That like little like she's like, "You call that begging?" I was like, "Damn!" Like every
dude.
time it gets me. Every time when she says that, it gets me. And honestly, this might be a hot take. I prefer that fight to the final fight with Osh.
I mean, I can't quite compare them because I feel like they accomplish different things for sure. Because I feel like the final fight is a beautiful kind of like painting love letter to these movies, like full respect.
Yeah,
And the Go Go fight is basically a love letter to American fans of this movie.
yeah.
Like, give me this woo, woo, woo sound and this
Dude, the
fucking
sound
ball. And
design
like,
whenever the ball
oh,
like flies,
dude.
I'm like, what did they
The
use for that? It sounded like a fucking Star Wars like fighter jet. Like I'm like,
yes,
it was
exactly. Like,
crazy.
so real, and, like, the inserts of it, like, smashing into stuff and, like, hitting her in the chest, and you just, like, get a visceral,
Well,
guttural
just like
reaction out of
it's
that.
almost like she's like you could see like if she wasn't 17 or like give her like whatever 10, 20 years, she would be like Orenishi, the new Orenishi. Like she'd be the successor because she's so
True.
cold-blooded. Like, but and like the
Mhm.
way that she like is swinging the ball around her neck, like so smooth, using her feet to like control. It's just like, oh, I fucking love that fight so much.
So good.
Oh man.
And then again, like in that fight, Tarantino reminding you that vengeance is it's like a powerful force, but it can't overcome everything. And for a second, it almost feels like Gogo might be able to beat
Right.
her when she's strangling her with the chain.
Hmm.
And even though this is such a weird shot to really like, there's something about her performance when she's like
So
being choked
yeah.
where she even looks like Uma even looks like I think I
Yeah.
might lose but for like a hair and
Well,
then thankfully it's
there was that story, like, that came out, like, after Inglorious Bastards. I don't know if you remember that, where, what's her name? Kruger, the actress, Diane
Diane.
Kruger, she gets choked to death in that, and,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, there was a whole thing that, like, Tarantino didn't think it looked real enough, so he used his own hands to do it, and people were being like, "That's a little sus," like, uh so I don't know,
I don't know about
that story just
that.
reminded me of, like, I don't hopefully she was okay, like, I'm not
I was gonna
that's
say it wasn't leading she wasn't, like, leading the conversation like, "My director choked me,"
and then there
right?
was the stuff about, like, the car crash, incident with Uma. I don't know if you know about that or whatever, but
No,
she got
which tell me
she
more.
got injured in a stunt, I think on Kill Bill 2, and
That's right, there is a car accident in
yeah,
Kill Bill 2,
and, like,
okay.
that was, like, another thing where people were being, like, you know, shitting on Tarantino and being like, "He shouldn't have let her forced her to do it," so, there's I mean,
He goes
he's
hard for his films, and you know what? His actors do too, and
yeah,
I guess, like, that's the hard thing about filmmaking as both an art and then, like, as a practice, is it's a dangerous thing
it is.
because making something that isn't real look real is hard, and that thing is meant to kill, like, the real thing would kill, so doing that is really, really
Yeah.
hard. but I do feel like it was an unlucky time. I remember when this came out being like afraid because a friend of mine who I like trusted, because of his film knowledge, was like, it's incredibly violent.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I'm so scared of this violence. Like, I feel like the culture was really like, hey, it's post 9/11. Like, I don't know about this violence, you guys. And frankly, I'm like, thank you for the violence post 9/11. Like, I don't, what else am I going to do with these feelings that can't go anywhere, right? Like,
Not the torture
I don't
porn.
into
Like
the
we were
air.
talking about that. Like I can't do
Right. It's
the
different.
torture porn, but like this stylized, obviously fake, like, if you cut somebody across the chest with a sword, they're not like fucking
Yeah,
spraying
it's not
blood.
like,
It becomes almost like comedic, you know what I mean? Like it's like there's so much blood in everyone's scene.
oh, so
The
good.
part where she cuts off the French lady, like the second in command, her like arm off.
Sophie Fatal.
Oh my god! Like, and she's just squirming on the floor, and it's just spraying out like a hose,
That
like a
woman's
fire
performance,
hydrant, like
too.
ah.
Yes. Yeah, the way she is acting is so
I mean, that's
good, too. Like, her
realistic. I feel like
scream.
that's what you would sound like if your arm got cut off. And then
Oh,
again, restraint though, because you don't see. I forgot about this too. When she's at the end, she survives, but she's disfigured, but you don't see how she's disfigured. Like you just see her like this traumatized
looking.
face, and Bill being like, "No, no, none of that, none of that." Like trying to console her, but you can also tell like, what the fuck did you tell her? Like, we need to know exactly what you told her so we can prepare. But and then Bill too. Uh, they could have taken her out when she was paralyzed, but you can tell Bill kind of does have something for her too.
I mean, they have a kid
I know.
together. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm thinking of Sophie. But that does make sense, though, because I think Bill has been with all of the women that work for him. Like Elle,
Yeah.
Daryl Hannah's character definitely is in love with him for sure.
Another small detail I like is her nurse outfit,
Mhm.
where she has the health symbol on her iPad.
Hell yeah.
Just again, comedy. This is just fucking comedy. Like there's a lot of funny parts
Comedy
in
in the
this.
details. Epic.
Oh man. What else can we talk about? I guess let's get into our favorite stunts and kills. Let's do that.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that yet. What's your favorite stunt?
I mean, I think that my favorite stunt is that head slice where she rolls down the table and just like softly cuts that guy's
Oh,
head off.
Ornishi, yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it really required choreography because when she like cuts the head and turns around, I feel like you see it in the background. So it's like you all of that had to be coordinated and there's something about how like overall my favorite part of the stunts is how close people are to getting hurt, and I think that's because of the timing of it all. So I think cutting that guy's head off is amazing. But then also I think, like removing a bunch of legs and finding ways to remove a bunch of arms and everything. I don't know how they did that, so I like that too.
Yeah, I would say for me, same, scene, Crazy 88 scene, iconic. Um, Probably though, where she's again when she's basically collecting limbs, she like does the backspin with the sword to just like cut everyone's like legs off like at the ankle, and so you just see all these like feet with like ankle like just like removed from their bodies on the
Exactly.
floor, and then all it like culminates with at the end with the line where she's like, "You guys can all go, but you leave your limbs behind. They belong to me now." I was like, "Oh shit."
So good. So good. Yeah. Oh, man. I just feel like like you were saying, every sequence is amazing. We could talk about it. And I feel like the stunts, because also the wire work she's
Oh
doing
yeah.
in that
Well, the
scene.
Crazy 88
Wow. Can't-
sequence, I think alone took like a month to shoot. I think was what they said.
It's
So it
awesome.
shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, it shows. You know what I mean? Like that's the most impressive, like, crazy sequence that he probably was like, this
Yep.
needs to be right. This is the
Yeah.
climax of the
Yeah.
movie.
God. I wish I could have gone into the soundstage. Like, I wish I was somewhere where, like, I'm sure that was in LA, and I wish I
You
was
can look
there
you
and could
you
just
can look it
see
up on
the
YouTube. The
screen.
special features are, like, pretty, like, comprehensive, like, about that scene in particular too, like, the wires and, you like, her stunt double, um, what's her name? I can't remember, but, like,
Yeah, Zoe Bell.
Zoe Bell, yeah, she's in there, and, this is before Tarantino, like, used her later on, like, in his movies as an actress.
Of course he would, though.
But again, I think that's what makes the action so good, and, like, you just made me think of to the storyline of that scene. When she sees Oranishi like leaving, and then it's like insert to her all those close-ups to like their eyes, and then she's like, oh shit, and so then she starts running up to the stairs to try and follow her, and so it's like, yeah, every action like feels like there's a purpose to it. It doesn't feel like she's just attacking. Like, there's these people in on each corner just standing around. It's like, no, they're all, she's chasing after her, they're chasing after Beatrix, and so it's, yeah, I think that's
It's nonstop.
nonstop.
Movement, 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 so it doesn't feel like those traditional fight scenes where you can see the seams. Like, if you look down for a second, you'll have missed a
Oh,
pivotal
I
part
couldn't
of
take
this
notes.
fight
I
scene.
couldn't even take notes. I had to keep pausing it and rewinding it. I was just like, okay, oh fuck, that kill was nice. Like, I was just,
Yeah.
and then when she gets to the Oranishi thing, like, blood splattered angel again, and Oranishi's like, well, I hope you didn't use all your energy because this could be over in 5 minutes, and it pretty much is. Like,
Yep.
she wasn't
Yep.
wrong. But yeah, what about kill? What's your favorite kill in this movie?
Too many to think of, and I was toggling, but I think my favorite kill is just gonna be Oren because,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, a scalping, it was so unexpected. You don't see it coming,
Mhm.
and I just love how, like, stone-faced Lucy Liu delivers, like, "That really
Oh,
was,
Tori,
Tori
Hanzo's
Hanzo."
sword.
Oh my god, dude. It's so good, it's so good. Yeah, and also it just looks amazing, like, the brain the brain looks so good.
Even
So,
even
yeah, even
scalp
though
Lucy Liu looks beautiful, like,
stunning,
like,
stunning,
perfect skin, perfect, like, yeah, just, and then it but yeah,
such a good kill.
like, pans up and you see her fucking brain, and it's like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty gross," but
Yeah.
up until that point, she's still she's still
Yep. Yeah, it's like that sequence is really delicate and light, and everything
It's the
is
more
in the
artistic
in-between.
action scene, like, for my hot take, I would like, you're right. This is the more like cinematic, like, respectful, like you said. And so, like, when I say I like the go-go fight more, it's that one's more visceral and like in your face and hardcore. That's what I mean. So yeah,
For sure,
don't
for
come at
sure.
me in the
Yeah,
comments,
what
bro. Like, don't come at me.
that's right. Step off, you guys. What about you? What's your favorite kill?
I again had to go with some of the Crazy 88s one. That was hard to deduce. I could have gone with the, like, removing the eye, which will come back
Oh,
in part two. But, like, again, hinting that, she does it to a guy, and then you see someone, the girl with the eye patch. You're like, okay, you might not put that together, but then on rewatch, then you start to put the pieces
then
together a
you
little
should.
bit. There's one in the Crazy Eight Eights one. I think it's in the black and white sequence, particularly, where she just straight up cuts someone in half, like, vertically, and they just split apart. And it's so
Yep.
fucking gross. And K and B did the effects for this movie. I think they do the effects for all of Tarantino's movies. So Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger, I want to say, I don't know, somewhere,
Cool.
yeah, they do all the effects, and so all those bloody squibs in, like, Django and fucking, every movie they do with him is just so gross and
I love it.
gruesome.
Dang,
Yeah,
so thankful.
yeah. So yeah, that's my favorite one.
I have to also, of course, mention, Killing Buck, with the door, closing his head in the door several times. It's, such a hard scene to watch, even though I want, him to be killed for all he's been doing to her and
So
most
gross.
likely to those other women.
Yeah.
But the way the sound design, everyone's performance, oh
Yeah, and
god,
then
that's a tough
that's
one.
one you don't see. You don't see his head get, the kill shot. You see, like, some of them, but then, like, the kill shot, you just see his leg twitching, and I feel like that was, like, like harder to watch than actually like seeing his head like explode or something. Like that was like, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, because it's true. It's like I could tell that it was his. Like he was almost being like, "This guy's skull, dude.
Yeah.
It's this guy's skull," and I was like,
And to your
"Ah!" So yeah, I can't.
like black comedy point, like Buck's kind of funny. We have like
I mean, yes,
he's a
yes.
dirt
How
he's
else,
a dirtbag, but the way he's selling it, like in that guy's performance, where he's like, "All right, so 75 for an hour, like no rule number
right?
one, no punching, like."
Exactly, right? So even if she spits, don't do it.
And it's just like this guy is insane. Like this guy is gross. Like what the hell?
That's what you need.
Yeah,
That's what you need, right? Like you sort of need that kind of presentation of this guy just to stomach this guy being present in the story at all, and then also to set up nicely her killing him the way that she does, right? Like she's got to escape this
yeah,
hospital, and if she was just in a hospital with like really caring doctors but had to
right,
kill her way out, that would
exactly.
not work.
Bites the dude's tongue out too. That one like stretches it out like fucking
Oh,
nasty.
so awesome.
Um,
It's a good stunt. That's a really good stunt, the way that looks
yeah,
too. Ugh,
yeah. I
ugh.
looked it up too. It is Howard Berger, Greg Nicotero, Howard Berger,
Nice.
JMB effects crew.
Boom. Yeah, we have to honor you. We respect your work.
um, what was I gonna say? Fuck. Blah, 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 blah. We were talking about the hospital scene. The comedy. Fuck. What was I gonna say about this part?
Could be anything. Oh, also she looks dope in the yellow jumpsuit situation on the motorcycle as well. Like
Bruce
so
Lee,
baller.
homage
Sick.
to Bruce Lee in his last movie.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. I guess the Pussy Wagon. That's not what I was gonna say, but I feel like we should just mention it. It's another funny.
It's gotta be mentioned.
And
It's
I
true.
think
Those
Tarantino
quirks.
said that like because they were asking about like props that he really owns in real life, and I think he says he owns the Pussy Wagon in real life.
You better.
Yeah,
You better. Like, who gets rid of that at the end of a production? That'd be so stupid to do. I can't wait for like in the year 20, like 50, for someone to be like, film memorabilia pussy wagon goes for $14 million. Like it's definitely going to. So I'm into that. All right, cool. Anything else before we wrap up?
I think that's all I got. Yeah.
Okay, that wraps it up for us. Let's remind the people where they can find us.
Get your fix and follow the show at We Stay Buff on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Follow me on Twitter at rampage_misfit, and my movie page is at misfit_minded on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and my website at misfitminded.com.
Take us for a ride and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And please leave a review. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. And you can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at It's Me, Shani B. All right. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time for another edition of Movie Buffs. Stay buff.